Do you guys hear that?
Is that boss music?
Go naked and just go with the sword, and that's it.
What do I do with all this?
It says it in the title.
Of course, it doesn't hurt that you kept winning those games. Hello, and welcome to the Unearthing Games podcast. I'm Nick.
And I'm Erica.
In case you couldn't tell, this is going to be a new podcast where we talk to you about video games and board games. But before we get into all that, we're going to tell you a little bit about ourselves and why we're doing this. Erica?
Hi, I'm Erica. As I said in the beginning, I'm an accountant. Not super fun job, or people at least don't think it's very fun. But I love having fun playing video games. I've been playing video games for a long time. It's kind of hard for me to play video games sometimes. I feel like I get bored a little easily. So I tend to play games that I've always played, and I just play the same ones over and over and over. So part of the reason I wanted to do this is to, start playing new video games and, expose myself to new video games, I guess, for lack of a better word. As far as board games, I'm relatively new to playing board games. I've only been playing for about 4 years. And the first time I ever really got into board games was when I went to PAX about 4 years ago. And we just spent most of the day just, checking out board games from the little library and just trying new things. And I really loved that. And I wanted to, bring that back and get us back to trying new things. That's about it for me. So, Nick, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, like Erica said and I said in the beginning, my name's Nick. I work in human resources, another, not so fun job, not exactly the most popular folks at the company. But I work in human resources, which I like. It's good work. I've been playing video games forever, honestly. Like some of my earliest memories are watching my older brother play on an NES console. And so I remember blowing in the cartridges and stuff like that. Goofy nonsense. But most of my life I've been playing AAA titles, the major things like Halos and Call of Duties and stuff like that. I only recently got into the indie game scene, and it's just opened up this whole new world for me. There's this whole just other side of gaming that I never knew. As far as board games, I've also been playing those most of my life, but for the whole early part of it, it was all those classic board games like Monopoly and Risk. It wasn't until I went with you to PAX, honestly, 4 years ago, that I had my first taste of what the whole board game industry has to offer. And yeah, I still think about that last day because it was a 3-day experience, and we spent the whole final day just checking games out over and over, and we just kept trying new games until everybody had cleared out and it was time to go home, and it was all right, well, I guess we have to leave now. But
yeah,
and it's just opened up a whole new world. And now, honestly, that's one of the biggest things I look forward to every year is going to PAX. I think it's just amazing. I'm kind of sad that we're probably not going to get to go this year. Because of the pandemic and everything like that. There's no way they can have a convention going on in real life.
So we talked a little bit about ourselves and why we kind of wanted to do this. So more in general, the podcast, what we're trying to do here is we wanted to create a weekly podcast where we will each play one new video game that week, and we'll come here and talk about it and our experiences, what we liked, what we didn't like, and hopefully it'll be a new video game for us. I know we have a backlog of games that we just want to talk about, so we'll probably talk about a few things that we've already played, but I think it's a good, gateway into playing new games, and if we have to play one each week, then we'll get a better experience out of that. And, saving our conversation for the podcast so that we can share it with you guys. As far as board games, we wanted to play a game together. It's a little bit harder to play a lot of board games right now with everything going on. So we decided that if we just played one board game a week, we could, talk about it together and our experiences and what we liked and didn't like about that board game that week. I think we're probably going to be using Tabletop Simulator a lot to play games online. That's just how it is. We have a few games that we do own in person, so we'll probably play those and talk about those too. But again, it's just, trying to get to play new games, both board or tabletop games and video games. and just, getting new experiences. So for this episode, we wanted to start off by listing what we think are our top 5 tabletop and video games at the moment. And hopefully, through this process and playing all these new games, we're going to find new top 5s, so maybe it will make it an annual thing to go through our top 5 again and see what's changed and what hasn't, things that stick around, the test of time and everything like that. So Nick, if you want to get started with your top 5 table games.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna do a countdown. So my my number 5 on my top 5 video games would have to be Settlers of Catan. I know that one has been around in the board game scene for a long time. I think it's considered a classic now, and that was one of my first tastes as far as of new board game types, or of the newer board game scene, I guess you could call it. So
yeah, and I think I that's probably one of my first experiences with not standard, Monopoly life kind of board game, was playing that game with your family, and I that really got me hooked into trying to figure out what other board games there are that are outside like the Mattel Hasbro line.
Of course, it doesn't hurt that you kept winning those games, I'm pretty sure my family has a vendetta out against you now because you've won every game of Catan since they invited you to play.
They just won't play with me anymore.
Well, eventually people don't like losing after a while. But yeah, Catan is amazing. And I think it's crazy that as the years have gone by, there's been so many different iterations of Catan.
Mm-hmm.
There's I think we have the Catan Game of Thrones edition in the closet.
Yeah,
and there's a Catan Pirates and a Catan Barbarians. There's a whole bunch of different Catan variants. Mm-hmm. It's cool. And I think that's really neat that they've kind of kept it alive and going. So I think
it's definitely a great starter game to, learn about the different types of board games that are out there.
Oh yeah. It's very easy to get into. The rules aren't complicated. Mm-hmm. There's not a million little pieces to set up. It's a simple, fantastic game. It's great. My number 4 is Dragoon by Lay Waste Games. And that is just a love story, I guess, for me. It was the first game we checked out at PAX that first year we went. Yeah. And holy guacamole, you and me and my younger brother all played it. And I'm pretty sure it was love at first sight for all of us. We were all just like, wow, this game is amazing. I'm pretty sure we hadn't even boxed the game back up yet, and you had pulled your phone up and had joined the Kickstarter for the game, because apparently it was still in Kickstarter when we had played it.
Yeah, and I remember just the thing that drew me to it to begin with was the metal pieces and just how hefty and nice those felt. And then when I looked it up to buy it, it was oh, there's plastic, or you pay more for the metal. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to pay more. Of course I'm going to do that.
Oh yeah, and apparently it's hard to get the metal pieces now. My sister-in-law wants to buy it, but she's like, but I want the nice metal pieces like y'all have, and all that's online are the plastic ones. And so she's all upset she can't buy it. And I'm like, I guess you'll just have to come play it with us, because we have the awesome parts. And then now we haven't tried them out yet, but you've even got the new expansions for it. What was it? Rogue and Barbarian, and then we're going to be getting, what is it?
Yeah, so Rogue and Barbarian we have. Then with this new Kickstarter that they have out, I think the campaign already finished, but I'm waiting for
it's like Might
for the
and
actual
Magma,
product
right?
now. Yeah, it's Might and Magma, so it's supposed to be adding volcanoes and lava to the map, which is going to be interesting.
Yeah, make it a bit more dynamic. That'll be cool. So, like I said, that game is just amazing. It's great, and it's such a fantastic experience, whether it's just 2 people or 4 people. Doesn't matter what number of folks you have. It's just a fun game. The experience doesn't get watered down with more players. Yeah. But all right, so number 3 for me is going to be the Battlestar Galactica board game. Now that's the first game that I've played that I think, what would you call it? It's like a lying game, basically, because if y'all don't know the premise of Battlestar Galactica, basically there's human survivors that have robot people hiding amongst them. They look like humans and they're robots. So the whole premise of the board game is there are, the humans have to survive so many turns to basically escape the robots. And there's, I think depending upon the number of players, you have 1 to 2 Cylons, who are the robots, who are in the crew, and they're slowly trying to sabotage the ship without people knowing about it. And so it was such a crazy experience. Like, I remember my older brother convinced my mother to play it one time. And everyone's like, oh, she doesn't play board games. She's just going to have a horrible time with this. And then she wound up being the Cylon, and she just bluffed the bejesus out of all of us. Nobody saw it coming. But it was just such a fantastic experience. I know that the game has had a ton of expansions since it first came out, but all I've ever played is the vanilla game. And I got to say, it will always be an experience that stays in my mind that I really enjoyed. Bam. Number 2 for me, it's going to be one that I don't think it's a new game, but it's new to me. I've recently played it. We played it at this last PAX in January, called Castles of Burgundy, which is a really neat action economy sort of game, where you've only got so many actions you can do per turn, and there's a limited resource pool, and so you and all the players are fighting over the pieces. And the whole shtick is that, the whole players are Burgundian princes, and we're trying to make our estates the most awesome estate out there. And so it's really cool. And it's really easy to get bogged down in the decisions and what you want to do and planning ahead. But I thought it's just so amazing. And the game is actually, it's got a lot of little pieces, but once you know how to play, it goes by really fast. You can play a full game in like 30, 45 minutes, I thought it was great.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's really fun. I know when we first tried playing it at PAX, we were like, this seems really easy. We have to be doing something wrong. And we realized that we were doing something wrong. But once we actually learned how to play it and you kind of get the feel for it, the games go really fast. And it's like, okay, I want to do this and this. And those are my 2 actions next turn. It's really fast.
Oh, yeah. It's great. I still remember that when we bought the game and you were reading through the instruction manual and you're like, at PAX, we did it wrong. It was great, though, but a fantastic game. I highly recommend it. And then my number one pick game that I could always play, probably my favorite game ever, is Agricola. And hopefully I didn't mispronounce that. That's how I pronounce it, Agricola. I'll look up the pronunciation later. But just, it's another action economy game, or I think it's actually classified as worker placement, right? Mm-hmm. Because we're each competing farmers, or every player is competing farmers, and you have farm hands on your farm. And it's like, okay, well, you start off with 2 people, and you can only do 2 actions per turn. And it's like, how do you want to spend your actions? Do you want to have the farm hands? Do you want to hire a new farm hand? Do you want to go buy things from the resource pool? It's just fantastic. It's got so many different decisions, but it's a scarce economy as well. So if I'm taking the brick out of the brick stockpile, it means that nobody else this turn gets brick. And so it's pretty crazy. I love it. It has a million little pieces. Opening the box, you're going to get some shell shock looking at that. Wow, what do I do with all this? There's just so many pieces. And the game has so many different choices you can make that analysis paralysis is pretty much inevitable. You'll be like, what's the best course of action? What do I do? How do I win? And how do I stop them from winning? I don't know what to do. And that's basically what happens to my older brother every time we play. He gets stuck, and the whole table is really annoyed with him because it's like, bro, you can't take 20 minutes on a turn, man. You can't. You got to make a choice. But it's still... I think
that's when we were like, if we ever play this game again, we need a turn timer because this is ridiculous. It was taking 2 or 3 hours to get through one game that it shouldn't have been taking that long.
I think if everybody knows what they're doing and acts quickly, I think it could be like Castles of Burgundy, where you could probably play it in an hour or less. Maybe a little bit more depending upon what, but if people are spending forever making their choices, goodness, you will be there all night. But it's a fun night, I gotta say. It's amazing. But yeah, so that's my top 5 board games. So that's my love story there. So what have you got, Erica?
Okay, so I'll go backwards also. Number 5. So my favorite, I guess my go-to, if I'm ever playing alone, is Solitaire. And it says it in the title. It's just, you get a deck of cards, you lay them out, and you try to make the stacks in sequence. It's super simple, but it's something that I always play. If I'm ever traveling for work or, in general, I'll always have a deck of cards with me and I'll just play Solitaire in the hotel that night. my go-to. I will always play that game. So
Hey,
that's my number 5.
It's the most travel-friendly game. I mean, you just pack a deck of cards in your bag. I mean, snap, you go to any gas station, airport, gift shop. I bet most hotels probably have a pack of cards you can buy in the lobby, So you can play it anywhere.
Yeah, super versatile, super travel friendly. Love it. It's my favorite game ever.
Don't judge me too much. I don't know how to play solitaire. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know how to play it. I never really.
So growing up, my sister never really wanted to play games with me, and I only have one sister. I don't have any other siblings, so if she didn't want to play with me, then I couldn't really play a game. So my mom taught me how to play solitaire. And yeah, I will play solitaire all the time.
Way to go, Mom.
Okay, my number 4 is Sushi Go.
Oh.
So that one is like a fast pace. You're trying to make pairs. You're just trying to collect the best hand. You're trying to make the best plate of sushi. I don't like sushi and like actual sushi, but this game is fun. And the art is adorable. Like the little sushi rolls look so happy to see you. It's just the most cutest thing ever.
Yeah, they all have little happy faces.
Yeah, it's just super, super quick, super easy to pick up. The scoring does take a little bit, I would say, is like what I want to do next time we play is like create like a scoring chart because there's so many different combinations you can get. It's just like we would just keep a track on like a pad of paper and it would take like the whole the whole thing for like the 8 or 9 combinations you can make. But I would just make like a scoring grid with like names across the top and then so you can track it easier. But that's just me being like super.
I mean, I think you're totally right. I think it took us longer to tally up the score than it took us to play around. So
yeah, it did take a bit. So that would be my only thing is I would create like a little grid that would be like first round and the different scoring possibilities, second round, and I think it's 3 rounds that you play through. And you're just trying to get the best hand at each round. And there's cards that if you don't have one of these cards that round, then you actually lose points because you didn't get the dessert. And it's like, no, I need the dessert. And sometimes there's only one in a round. And so, whoever doesn't get it loses points. And it's great. It's a fun game because as you're trying to make your pairs, you're passing. So you're just passing hands the whole time. So I'll start with 5 cards, put a card, you pick 1 card each time. So you have your cards, you pick one, and then you pass them to the left or to the right. I don't remember. And so you're always like, oh, well, if I let that one go, then they're going to get it, and they might make the pair that I want or whatever.
Can't let them have the wasabi.
Yeah. So it's always trying to think about like, okay, and then especially after the first round, it's like, well, I know that there was wasabi coming up, and then there's supposed to like trying to keep track of that is also kind of hard. But it's
were there dumplings coming around? I
game.
think there's dumplings coming around. I really need more dumplings.
Is there another pudding? I only saw one pudding. Like everyone always gets pudding first because if you don't get dessert, you lose points.
Yeah, always go for dessert.
But,
guarantee yourself points.
So that's my number 4. My number 3 is Chameleon. So this one is a fun, like, lying game kind of thing. So everyone gets, it's really a grid sheet that says, here are coordinates. And there's one main card in the middle of the table that's a topic. So it could be, like, musical instruments, and it'll have a grid full of, like, piano, guitar, different instruments. And so you'll roll the dice and that selects like the different coordinates on the grid on the main table. And it'll just show you basically, oh, the item for the round is a piano. And so everyone has a card that should have grid coordinates, except there's one person or 2 people, I think.
Depending upon the number of players. I think if you have a lot of players, you can have 2, right? I don't know. I don't remember. It's been so long. But one person doesn't have the coordinates on their card. All it says is you are the chameleon, and your goal is to get through the round without anyone figuring out that you're the chameleon, that you don't know what it is. And the goal for everyone else that does know is to give vague enough clues that everyone else knows that they know what instrument it is, but they're also not giving it away to the person that doesn't know. Well, because isn't it like one person has to guess? Like, it's like you take turns and it's like one person's turn, or do we all vote on who's the chameleon?
I think we vote.
Okay.
So at the end of the round, if people point out like, hey, Erica's the chameleon and I am, then
I think they get like 2 points or something, right?
Yeah. I don't get any points, but whoever pointed out that I was the chameleon gets points. And the chameleon gets points by not being found. So if at the end of the round they can't figure out who it is, then you win. Because, I mean, you were a great chameleon. No one figured out that it was you. That one's really fun. Again, it's like, it's really fun with a big group of people. I remember playing it with your family at one of, the holidays. And it was just like 8 of us sitting around a table being like, no, you said frets and it doesn't have frets. This string instrument doesn't have frets. And it's like, it was great.
Oh, but wasn't that the point at the time where, like, I think my brother is like musically illiterate and didn't understand that, like, he doesn't know what frets were. He just just heard it one time on a video. So he said it and it was like, do you know what you're talking about?
And we're like,
think that means
no,
what you think
that
it
instrument
means.
Yeah, we're like, that instrument does not have frets. And I had said something, and your sister-in-law was like, yeah, she's totally right. That works. And your brother was like, no, she's lying. And I was lying, but I did know what it was. It was just really annoying that he figured it, like, he guessed that I was it, even though he didn't actually know what the instrument was. Anyway. So that was my number, 3?
I think so.
Let me look at my list. Yes. So then my number 2 is, it was called Captain Sonar. I think it's just called Sonar now.
Yeah.
And that's like adult battleship.
Yeah, we played that at PAX, didn't we?
Like, yeah, we played it. They were the creators were there, and we like played a trial run we were there with about 4 people. Yeah. And we needed another 2 random people came in and joined us on that one. And that was just, so it's battleship. There's 2 sides and each side has 4 people. It could be 3, it could be 2, it could be 1, theoretically, I guess you could play one.
That'd be really complex.
But ideally, I think it's supposed to be 4 people. So there's the captain, there's the navigator person, the comms person. Then there's the navigation person. And there's like the equipment person, right?
Yeah, I think there's engineering. The engineer person has to keep the engines and the systems working. Running, right? Because like you can't shoot torpedoes if your torpedo system overheats or something like that. And
well, so you're moving around on a grid, right? And if you go straight twice and then right and then straight another time, one of your systems might stop working because you went straight too many times. And so it's the engineer's job to make sure, like, hey, Captain, we can go left, right, or straight. The systems will all still work. Or if the systems do stop working, they have to tell the captain, we need to do this, this, and that to get the system back online.
Yeah.
And so both the boats are navigating around a grid, and you don't know where the other one is. And so the comms person has to make sure that they're listening to the captain of the other team, because the captain is the one that's saying, we're going left. And so you have to say, okay, they're going left. So, and then the map has like islands and different obstacles that, you have a clear overlay that you're riding on, and you're like moving it around on the map. Like, well, they can't be here because if they were here, their path would have drove them into the island, which isn't possible. So you have to like figure out where they're at and then sink the other ship before they sink you. It's super fun. It's just, I love being the comms person because I think I'm a great listener. But if you have someone on comms that just doesn't listen.
Yeah, there was that game that I was comms, and boy, that was not a proud day. Not a proud day for me.
Yeah, he was like, I want to try comms. I was like, fine, I'll do engineering, you do comms. And then he's like, wait, you guys couldn't have moved left? That's impossible. And they're like, no, we did this, and then left. And he's like, oh, I forgot that you guys went straight again. And they didn't have to tell him that. They were just like, no, it is possible. Yep. They could have left it at that, and we would have been screwed because we wouldn't have known
where they were.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we still lost that round, but it doesn't matter. So
that's my number 2, and my number 1 is Dragoon. So that's the one that Nick talked about. I think it's your number 4.
Yes.
3 or 4? Yeah. I don't think you mentioned what the concept of the game is.
I did not, actually. I just talked about how we found it.
Yeah, so the concept of the game is you are a dragon running around this land, and you're running around claiming cities, because, dragons love gold, and if you claim a city and they're scared enough, they will give you gold.
Well, I mean, those pesky humans are moving into your domain, so what else are you going to do but subjugate them, right?
Yeah, so you have to capture cities to get gold, but at the end of each round, you have to roll to see if your roar is scary enough to make them give you gold. And if you have a little weak roar, you can actually lose cities, or just not get gold. And then there's also, instead of claiming cities and thinking about, long term, I'll have this for 2 or 3 rounds and it'll get me X gold, you can just destroy it and get gold right then and there. So it's all about getting to 100 gold first. Which dragon could get it there first? And so it's always a balance between, I'm just going to straight up and go attack Nick's city so he doesn't have any gold and I'll get the gold from destroying them and, just causing chaos and people coming after you because you keep attacking their cities.
If you burn my cities to the ground, I'm going to come burn yours down too, right? That's just good business.
But yeah, so that is my favorite game. It's easy enough that someone that doesn't really play board games can get into. I played around with my coworkers and we had so much fun. They had never played this game before. I explained it to them. They got it really fast. It's super quick to learn. It's really pretty, especially with the metal pieces.
The metal pieces make it. They really
the extra
do.
Money. Yeah, it's just feeling like that heft of the dragon is just great.
Well, I think it's even amazing that the board itself is like cloth, right? It's all like painted into a cloth square.
Yeah, so this one is another one that could be really travel friendly. So the board is a cloth square that gets folded and rolled up. And then the scoring board is a separate board, but it's a bag. And you can put the main board and all the little bags of tokens and stuff and cards in the scoring bag and just take it wherever. You don't need the box. If you want it to, just take it, if you're traveling and you just want to play on vacation or something, you could just take it in the bag and not have to worry about carrying a box around, which is also cool. I like the box. It's pretty.
It's a very nice box.
I always carry the box everywhere.
Yeah.
So those are my 5 table/board/card games, because solitaire isn't really a board game.
Yeah, and I almost guarantee that our lists will change, especially as we do this podcast where we try out games we haven't played before. I mean, there's so many games out there. We're guaranteed to find new stuff that we're going to fall in love with,
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I guess now we'll jump into video games. So
Okay.
I guess I'll go first again. So my number 5 top video game of current favorite of all time, it's going to be the Halo franchise. So I'm saying the franchise because, I've been playing them since they first came out. I've played all of them. I think they're amazing games. I love them. And like I said, I'm just a big fan. I love the lore. I've read the books. I'm a super fan, I'm one of those people. If I actually had an ounce of creativity in my body, I would have made a suit of Master Chief armor out of foam and stuff like that, but I'm just not crafting inclined. If I had to pick a specific one in the franchise, I would go with Halo 2, just because that has the most memories for me. That was when the heart of the LAN party era and all that. So me and all my friends from high school would get together and hook all of our Xboxes into a hub, and we'd be playing 16-player Halo and stuff like that. It would be nuts, and it'd be at my parents' house, and the house would just be full of TVs and yelling teenagers, and my mom's like, I guess I'll just order some pizza, And so my parents, they took it good stride. I guess as a teenager, we could have been doing a lot of worse things, right? But instead, we all got together and played Halo for hours on end. It was great. So, yeah, that was Halo 2 was in the heart of that era. That was before Xbox Live really took off. I know Halo 2 was on Xbox Live in the early parts, but still. So that's got to be one of my all-time favorites. I love it. It's great. I'm not so good at it anymore. I'm out of practice with the shooter genre, but still just such a great story. All right, my number 4 is going to be the Souls franchise. So all of the From Software, the Dark Souls, the Sekiro, all of those, they are just amazing games. And I remember I picked it up on accident. One of my coworkers, when I worked at Best Buy, was telling me about it, and he was like, so what kind of games do you like? And I told him, and he's like, oh, this game isn't for you. You don't want this. And he put it back on the shelf. And I kind of took that as who the heck do you think you are, man? If you say I can't play this game, I'm going to play this game. And man, I fell down the rabbit hole. Like, holy cannoli, the game is amazing. Like, for months after I bought that game, it was the only thing I could pick up because it's just so hard. And, like, it's gotten to the point now that it's been around for so long, it's a meme, basically. It's like, oh, get good, son. Dark Souls is so hard. Do you even play? And it's just such a fantastic franchise. And it made me appreciate games that don't let you pick the difficulty. Because, like, in the olden days of video games, you didn't pick a difficulty. You just played the game, And so nowadays it's like, oh, well, I like the story, so I'm going to play it on easy, and it'll be fine. And I'll just sashay on through the levels, and I'm bulletproof. No, don't do that. Let games abuse you a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
That's how I feel about Dark Souls. If I had to pick a specific Dark Souls game, it would be Dark Souls 1, honestly. The game is a masterpiece. It's just amazing. It's, like I said, it's great. If you have never played a Souls game, pick up Dark Souls 1. I think they even remastered it recently. So, because the original game's actually fairly old. But yeah, I
tried that one, and
yeah,
I can't. Like, I don't remember even what part I got to, and I was just like, yeah, I'm done. Like, this is.
I think you got to like the first real game boss. It was the gargoyles. I think you got up to the top of the castle, up to the church or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the gargoyles fight is just such an awful fight. It's horrible.
It's just so tiring for me. Like, I understand playing games when it's like, oh, this is hard. Let me try again. Let me do this. But that's just, to me, needlessly hard. Like, you're not nearly as equipped as you should be to be fighting these bosses, and if you're not like super nimble and running around behind them the whole time, you're not gonna get through it. It's
like, who wears armor in this game? You basically have to take off all your clothes so that you have the fastest roll to get away from the boss, because if he hits you, because you're gonna die.
Yeah, the armor doesn't do anything. Even if just no armor, just go naked and just go with the sword, and that's it. That's how you're gonna win.
Well, because if you die, the game even makes fun of you. It's like when you die, it just pops up in red letters. It's like, you died. It's like,
whew. That didn't bother me as much. It just bothered me that it was like, okay, I'm fighting this skeleton guy. Oh, now there's 5 of them, and 3 of them are shooting arrows at me, and I can't get to them because they're way over there. No, I just can't.
See, I like the areas where you're like, all right, there's 2 of them, and as you run in to fight them, you don't notice that like 6 of their friends are crawling up over the ledges behind you. And then suddenly you're being like Zerg rushed by a bunch of these guys. But still, one of my all-time favorites. It's amazing. Okay, my number 3 is gonna be Slime Rancher. Slime Rancher is just such a cute and awesome game. I mean, if you've never played Slime Rancher, the whole premise is you've moved to this planet, this distant planet called the Far Far Range. Why you would name a planet that, I don't know. But you move there, and people move to this planet because slimes live there. Slimes are adorable little bouncy creatures that poop crystals when you feed them. And you harvest these crystals and you sell them on a market. It's like the black market of slime poop. I don't know. But you sell it there. And it's just the most adorable game ever. The slimes are always so ridiculously happy to see you. And they always make cute little noises. They're bouncing around and stuff. And you later on, like, you can do like crossbreeding and stuff like that. So you can like breed the rock slimes with the pink slimes, and the purple flying slimes can be mixed with the gold slimes and stuff like that. And it gets crazy. But on top of all of the ridiculous adorableness, it also has a fantastic exploration factor. It has this really big island for you to explore. And it has a lot of little hidden nooks that reward you for going out of your way. You're like, that looks like a place I could go. And when you get there, there's like a little chest waiting for you, and it's like, great job, dude, you made it. You know, we were hoping you'd get here. It's so great. And then it has a story, but much like the Souls series, you have to go looking for the story. Because there's like little audio logs or text logs hidden around the island from the guy who used to live on your ranch. And it's really great. It was such a fantastic experience. It's probably one of the only games that when I got to the end, I teared up a little bit. It was emotional. It was great. It's such a good story. It's fantastic. And if you ever get the chance to play it, I would say play it. The guys who made it, like I think it's like Konami Park or something like that, they've done a great job of, over the years, they've continued to support it. They've added a bunch of free DLC. It's great. I love when companies do that. They're like, you already paid us your $30, $40. We're not going to make you pay another $20 for content that we just wanted to add. So here, have the free content. I love it. It's great. So, Slime Rancher. If you want something that is disgustingly cute, Slime Rancher, because that's what it is. It'll be like rainbows and unicorns, but instead it's adorable slimes. All right, number 2 is in a similar vein to the Souls franchise. It's Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight. I like the first time I played it, I didn't really know a whole lot about the game. I think I had seen some people play it on Twitch and was like, well, that looks interesting. I think I could play that. Yeah, why not? And it is just, it's one of those tough as nails, like Souls type games, but it's a 2D platformer. So you're this little bug. Like the whole premise is you're a bug in like this ancient bug colony that's abandoned, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense in my mind. I'm sure there's like a bazillion lore videos on the internet that are like, oh, if you go to this one obscure spot and read this one snippet of a journal entry, it tells you that the White King did this and whatever. And I don't need that, honestly. The game itself, it's an amazing art style. I'm pretty sure it was a Kickstarter game. I'm pretty sure it was a Kickstarter at one point. And the whole game is hand-drawn. So all of the environments are hand-drawn. The animations for the characters are fluid and great. The environments, they're just beautiful and breathtaking. The sound quality is so good. Like when like a bug crawls out of the bushes, you hear like the little leaves like rustling and stuff like that. It's great. And it's just so fun. And then like I remember I had like just a good-hearted laugh like with some of the bosses. They're so great. Like you fight a dung beetle at one point, and it's just so funny. So Hollow Knight is amazing. I think they're even going to have a sequel pretty soon.
Oh, really?
I think it's going to come out, I think this year, maybe next year, called Silk Song, where you play as one of the characters from the first game that interacted with your character. So okay. I'm excited about that. It looks really good. Like it seems like they've taken the formula the winning formula they had for Hollow Knight and turned it up to 11. They're like, we'll just make it better. How can we add to this? So
yeah, that game was great. I can't play games like that, as we've realized with Dark Souls.
But I'm pretty sure you watched me play the whole thing, right?
I watched you play the whole thing. It is so pretty. The music is beautiful. Like it's fun to watch. Like even if you died 50 times to the same thing, it was still fun to watch every time that
I totally forgot about the music.
It was great.
Some of the best boss music you could ever ask for is in that game. Mm-hmm. It's so good.
Yeah. That I would also classify that game as cute. Maybe not as cute as Slime Rancher, but it's very cute.
It is a cute game because you're a little bug dude. You know, you're this little you're this little guy that he's just got a white face. He doesn't show expressions or anything like that. He's got these blank eyes, but he's like this cute little dude that swings a sword all you know? So yeah, it is pretty
cute. Exactly
cute.
The sound it makes.
And then like it's that whole silent protagonist thing, you know, like your character never says anything. But you meet all these characters that are they're so like rich and full of life and stuff like that they're just neat characters. You love them. Mm-hmm. All right, and last, but absolutely not least, my number one game of all time is RimWorld by Ludion Studios. Right? Was it like Tynan Sylvester is the developer? That guy. He's written a book. I follow him on Twitter. He's an interesting fella. But RimWorld is just such an amazing game. I guess I just love worker management stuff. You know, like my favorite board game is a worker management game. My favorite video game is a worker management game. Because the whole premise of RimWorld is you are people stranded on a RimWorld, a planet on the rim on the galactic rim, that's obscured from civilization. You've crash landed there, and you have to survive. And so you manage these people to grow food, build shelter, fight off animals, and even other survivors who are trying to steal your stuff. And so it's just an amazing game. And I remember I got into it back when it was still in really early access. Thinking about how it used to be, the game was so dry in the beginning. But I remember I watched a YouTuber, Sips, I think, that he played it when it was super duper early access. And I don't know, Sips is great. But it just made me I watched him play it and I was like, wow, I feel like I could do that so much better. And so I wanted to play it. And so I wanted to play it. And so I picked it up on early access and I've been playing it over the years. And I think it's great. And then if it's the kind of thing, if you ever get bored of it, which I don't see how you could get bored of it. But if you ever want to shake things up, it even has a huge, robust mod community. I've downloaded a whole bunch of mods that tweak the gameplay or add new mechanics, or there's just so much to it. It's crazy. And it's literally the kind of game that I could play and have played for hours and hours on end. I'm pretty sure a couple of days ago, I was up till 3 a.m. because I lost track of time. I was just just one more thing. Let me just get these defenses built and everything will be great. And then it's oh my gosh, I think the sun's coming up. I better go to bed. But yeah, super amazing game. I think it has its 1.0 release now. It's got DLC and stuff and everything, but it's worth every penny. So if you don't have RimWorld, go out and buy it. If you've already bought it, gift it to a friend so they can pay it. Because the guys who made that game, they deserve our money because they need to keep making games like that. Okay, sorry, I got on a soapbox there for a bit, but back to you, Erica.
Well, thanks, Nick.
How about the weather?
Back in the studio over there. Okay, so my top 5 video games. So my number 5 is the Nancy Drew franchise. So this is by Her Interactive, and I think it's one of the first computer video games that my sister and I really played through, or at least attempted to. So the first one we played, so it's Nancy Drew, right? You're trying to figure out some kind of mystery. There's tons of video games. There's 30 something.
I looked them up on Steam. It's ridiculous. There's 30 of them.
And each one is a separate case. So you get called in by someone. It's oh, I think my house is haunted. And you go and you stay at the house and you try to figure out what's going on. It's never actually haunted.
Yeah, it's very Scooby-Doo,
Very Scooby-Doo. And you're Nancy Drew. You're trying to figure out what's going on. But inevitably, whoever the bad person is, the person in the mask, as in Scooby-Doo, tries to come after you and kill you. And we were always so terrified of that part of the game. Even now, playing it, I played one a couple of months ago, and we got to the end part, and I was like, I can't do this. And he was just sitting there just play it. It's just, if nothing's gonna happen. I was like, but he's chasing me.
Yeah,
and so,
that was the one that you got me into, because I remember the first time you told me about those games, I played the stereotypical dude, and I was like, I don't want to play a girl's game. But then you got me to play it, and yeah, the mystery and the puzzles. So many puzzles.
So many puzzles. So good, though.
Yeah. I don't remember the one. It was the Captive Curse or something like that. Because they're all... Nancy Drew's a book series, right? I've never read Nancy Drew books, so I have no idea.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, it's a book series, and the Hardy Boys also come in some of the games.
Right, the Hardy Boys are in there.
That's also a book series.
But yeah, I remember you got me to play that, and I was like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. Because, I've played point-and-click adventures or, the old, games like Myst and stuff like that, where it's an environment and you click on spots to move around and all that, and Nancy Drew's totally like that. So, it was really cool, I gotta say. I'm glad that I overcame my, I don't know what you want to call it, stereotypes, my predispositions. I'm glad that I sucked it up and played the game. It was definitely worth it.
Yeah. I think they're great. The puzzles are always fun, and there's a whole forum message board on the Her Interactive website if you get stuck on a puzzle, because some of those puzzles are very hard.
Some of them are.
It's oh, did you do XYZ before you tried A? And it's well, no, who would do that?
Did you go back to that one corner of the castle where the one little person might be sitting, but you don't know if they're sitting there because they're not always there. But if you go find them there, then the thing will happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Super fun, though.
Still really
Love them. If I had to pick my favorite one, it would be, I think, number 13 is like the train to Blue Moon Canyon or something. And in that one, you're stuck on like some ghost train.
Oh.
And there's like this, I don't remember what the mystery of that one was, but eventually like you get stranded in some like rundown mine and you have to get out. Like that's how they try to kill you.
I figured it would be very like Murder on the Orient Express kind of deal, but no.
Kinda, but I don't think there's an actual murder. Okay. I think someone might go missing.
Okay.
I don't think there's ever been, I mean, I guess there has been deaths. I don't know.
Yeah. There's so many games.
It's still very family-friendly game.
It is, actually. It's fun for the whole family. It's good-natured.
Yeah.
Nancy Drew's very wholesome. Right?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Okay. My number 4 is City Skylines. And for me, there's just something so nice about building a city, watching it grow, and then, oh, now we need more residential, let's build some more residential, and oh, now we need more commercial, so let's do that. And then the industry is mad because there's not enough workers, and just balancing all of that and growing the city. It's great. The traffic is a little annoying, but there are some mods that help that because it just takes the fastest route, even though there's a lot of different available routes. So
it doesn't have the Google Maps to redirect you, Calculating, recalculating.
Like the guy in the back of the traffic line is like, well, this is still the fastest way, and there's no other way possible. I mean, and it's just like, oh gosh. But that's just a great game. It's just super calming, just build a whole city.
I've watched you play that game so many times. Like it's pretty crazy too, because like when your city gets bigger, it gets so system heavy. Like if you don't have a computer with some good processing power, it bogs down a little bit. Like maybe you built this too big, You're like Icarus flying close to the sun. You build your city way too big. Now you can't run it. But
oh yeah, that's definitely on my list, is to build a gaming PC, and it's definitely so that I can play cities at like maximum.
And it's got a ton of DLC, right? That adds just bukus of content. Like there's like the college campus one, and there's a bunch. There's so many different DLCs for it that add some neat new mechanics to it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, there are tons of good DLC, and then there's also just like music packs.
You want to buy some new radio stations to listen to?
Just play music in the background. It's not that big a deal. Like the one song will get annoying after a while. Maybe it's more than one, but it'll get annoying after a while.
Why put on Spotify when you can buy the jazz DLC pack for $2? Why?
Yeah, no.
Or you could put on a Spotify jazz station. I don't know. But
yeah, so that's my number 4. Number 3 is FTL.
Ooh. Yes.
Yeah, so this is probably one of the first indie games I played, and this was a while ago, but I was still in college when I played this. I remember specifically playing it in the back of my finance class, and my professor being super irritated. Still got an A in that class, though. But
showed him.
It's a great game. How would you explain it? You are controlling a spaceship as you're going through these like systems, and there's someone out after you. Basically, like you're the rebellion, right?
Well, no, I think you're running from the rebellion. Like the rebellion's trying to overthrow the galactic government, and you're trying to like tag up with the. It's very much like you have the Death Star plans, and you're trying to go deliver the Death Star plans to the fleet.
I thought it was the opposite, that they were trying to destroy. Like, I thought it was more Star Wars-y, where you're,
It's like an inverted Star Wars. Because I remember, because it's got that red line that follows you across the map, right? So, like, every time you make a jump, the line moves further forward. And, like,
right.
I thought that those were the rebels.
You can't stay in any system. I thought you were the good...
You are the good guys. You're not the Empire. You're like the Galactic Republic or something like that.
Yeah, you're the rebels. That's what I said.
No, the Republic, not the rebels. The rebels are the guys who are trying to kill you.
Okay.
Forget about it. Just forget the names. Just forget the names.
There are people trying to kill you, and you're trying to get to the end of this. You're basically trying to get to the end of some system to defeat the main bad guy. Is what it is, because you're not trying to get plans to somewhere. You're trying to go and defeat the bad guy. Basically, they have the Death Star. You need to go destroy it, right? Good analogy.
Yeah, basically, it's a fantastic
and
game.
Well, each system is like a map with like, I don't remember, like 8 or 9 different levels of jumps, and each time you make a jump, they get closer. And so you can, like, you know, stall in the back area for a little bit, but then they'll get closer to you. And once they do, then you're always going to be fighting them. Like, and you can't just keep fighting. Like, your ship is going to get run down.
It definitely incentivizes you to hurry up.
Yeah, and you have to get through the system before they catch you. And you have to go through and upgrade your ship, because once you get to the end ship is like huge. It's got so many guns, and if you don't have enough shields or weapons or the right kind of weapons, you're never going to take it down. It's just going to be your death. So you're going through all these, you know, systems to try to upgrade your ship as much as you can, so that when you get to the end, you can defeat the boss, basically. And there are so many different variants of ship that you can have, and there's so many different ways to unlock these ships. And I still have not unlocked all the ships.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's...
It's so hard.
Yeah, it is. I think there's, like, one that's, like, super obscure to get, where it's, like, if you hit the one random event that picks up the thing, and you go to the next system and hit the other random event that opens the thing, and then you go to another system and find the random event that opens a warp gate and teleports you to some special crystal dimension. It's crazy, and it's like you have to have the perfect storm of events. And you have to have a specific
crew member in your crew while you're doing all of that.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you don't have that one crew type, then you can't do it. Yeah.
It's a mess. But the game is so good. I think that's one of the first indie games you got me into. And I just remember I couldn't put it down. I just kept playing it. I'd wake up and play it while I'm eating breakfast. And then I'd play it while I'm eating dinner before bed and stuff like that. I just could not put it down. I was like, I need to beat this. I have to win. To win.
And it has tons of replayability. You know, you can always go through it again and again and beat the boss, and then all the ships to unlock. There's different objectives you have to do for each of the ships, and if you get 2 of the 3, then you get the ship.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It's not complicated. It's, you know, it's easy to get through. And I just think it's a great game. It's so much fun.
It's one of those easy to learn, but a while to master kind of games.
Yeah, definitely.
So good, though. FTL, man. What a fantastic game.
My number 2 game is Don't Starve Together.
Okay.
Very specifically together. So there's Don't Starve, and then there's Don't Starve Together. So the basis of the game is you're surviving. You don't want to starve. Yeah. You get pulled into this dark world that you are trying to escape from. And in order to do that, you have to survive for a long time, because you have to find all these parts of a statue. And when you find all the statue things, then you get put into this challenge level. And if you beat all the challenge levels, then you get to the end, and you still, like, there's a whole bunch. I've never finished the game. I don't know what it looks like, but it's got a great art style, very like Tim Burton.
Yeah. I always would compare it to Tim Burton's kind of aesthetic.
Yeah, it's got a great art style. The music is super cute. The reason I say Don't Starve Together is because it's the multiplayer version of the game. And to me, Don't Starve is great. I can play it, but it's just more fun when you have people with you. When you have, okay, I'm gonna set the rabbit traps and you go pick berries, or, you know, like you set out little goals, and it's like, okay, we're going to build our base here, and we're going to do X, Y, Z, and this is how we're doing stuff. We've still never beaten it. We're not very good at it. It's so
hard. Like, we always get to, like, spring, and then it starts raining frogs, and then that's just death. It's awful. It's awful. But it's such a great game.
I love it. I will play it all the time. You don't like playing it as much because, you know, we always lose. But
yeah, it's the kind of thing, like, I need to know that I could win, you know? And I feel like with Don't Starve Together, it's just not in the cards. Like, and I play Dark Souls, you know, and it's like I've had those bosses beat me down like 100 times in a row. But at least I knew there was a chance. With this game, it's just not gonna.
There is a chance.
Nah, man, when that deer clops rolls into your camp and just curb stomps you with one hit, no, there's no chance. But it's still such a fantastic game, though.
It's a great game. There's tons of playable characters, and each of them have their own specific things. You know, some of them are smarter, some are more scared, some only eat meat, and it's just playing through each of them it's great. It puts a different level of challenge each time you play it. If you choose different character each time, I stick to the same one.
Yeah, you always play.
I don't like the challenge.
Hey, I've only tried a handful of them. I haven't even played all of them because like you read some and you're like, no, that's not for me.
That just is so like the one that only eats meat. At the beginning, it's really hard to get meat, and it's just like I'm gonna die.
Well, there's
right
also
away.
like the one guy that
even
like
possible?
he takes damage if he's in the rain, and it rains a lot in that game. So it's like, why would I just want to constantly be dying?
That's why you have to make umbrellas. You make umbrellas and you're fine.
Of course. All right.
It's a fun game. I love it. It's great to play with other people. Yeah. Don't starve together.
Exactly.
You know?
I think you could have like what, up to 6 people in one game. I think
so.
It's pretty cool. It's really cool. So much stuff you can make.
Yeah. It's all about crafting and surviving, and that's just fun. And my number one game is RimWorld. Also, we've both spent hundreds of hours in this game, and it's just every play is different, and every time you play, there's a different story to tell. It's like, oh my god, we were doing so good, and then this raid came in of 50 people, and the cannons blasted my own guys, and, you know, like, there's always a story to tell. And I think that's something that shows a good game when it tells these stories, and it's just something that you get so into, and it's like, no, the first person I ever had just died. Like, how are we going to go on without them? It's a great game. I love it. I've tried all the tough things. I've tried trying to, you know, start out in the Arctic tundra area, and it was rough. But
I think it's pretty crazy.
It's fun. There's tons of replayability. I've never beaten that game either, because there is an end.
There is an end. You can escape the planet.
Get off the planet. Yeah.
But
that's the whole goal. Get off the planet. And it's just, it's hard, but it's fun. The worker management is great. I love being able to say, okay, your priority is that you will clean everything, and then you will go and harvest crops, or, you know, different things like that. I love the prioritization of the goals. I love that you can take people prisoner and then turn them so that they're part of your tribe now. Yeah. I
always felt bad for the one person I had, I made them my cook, so they like never leave my kitchen. They just like make a meal, go back to the fridge, make a meal, go back to the fridge, and they just go back and forth and back and forth. But I think it's really neat that you mentioned that it always has a great story to tell. Because I feel like the guy who developed the game, I think he's been quoted saying that it's not a management game. It's a storytelling game. Because that's why the AIs you pick are the storytellers, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so you're right. Like, every time I've ever played that game, I've walked away from it with a really like, oh my gosh, let me tell you about this nonsense that happened. Like, it's...
And then there was a volcanic winter, and we couldn't grow any crops for 2 months.
We were doing great. We got our defenses built. Everything was awesome. And then there was a nuclear fallout. And so we had to go hide in our house forever, and our crops died. And I had to eat the buffalo because we couldn't feed them anymore. And I always felt bad for that. Like, you want to have a bunch of animals, but then, like, you have to hide in your shelter. And it's like, we only have so much food, y'all, and we can't feed the livestock. So I guess we're going to eat them.
And they eat a lot of food.
Yeah, like, seriously. Yeah. Especially if you have, like, the pack animals, like the buffalo, the llamas, the elephants. Oh, my gosh, the elephants. I had to, like...
Grizzly bears. Remember when I had grizzly bears?
Oh, those are awesome, though, because, like, they haul stuff. They defend your colony because they're grizzly bears. Oh, but they're hard to tame. I usually wind up getting my people attacked when I tame a grizzly bear.
Well, that was the good thing. It self-tamed. It was like, hey, you guys are cool. I'm going to join you. And I was like, yes.
I always love when, like, a merchant rolls in and they're like, hey, man, you want to buy a mountain lion? It's like, well, why not? Sure. I mean, I didn't specifically know, but in this instance, yes. So it was great. Such a fantastic game. Like, I don't know if that's going to be a really hard game to dethrone off my number one seat. You know?
Oh, yeah.
something really good's got to come up to take it off its pedestal. Mm-hmm. But man, such a great time. Those are our top 5 board games and video games. That's it for this episode. I hope all of y'all have had a fantastic time. I know we've had a great time talking about these games, and we look forward to seeing y'all next week. So, toodles.
Bye.